All right, so good morning, everyone. I'm from XIXILI, a lingerie brand. I don't know if this image kind of tells you that we're from a lingerie brand. And so what I'm here to talk about is actually how we shifted XIXILI, which is a traditional brick and mortar store, to offer towards an omni-channel offering and bringing on board an online store and multiple other channels from the online strategies into a traditional brick and mortar setup. All right. So just to kick off, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on what XIXILI, about the brand XIXILI. XIXILI is a Malaysian brand. I'm not sure how many of you actually knew that. It's a Malaysian brand. Most of our products, all our products are actually designed here, and we manage our own retail chain. We used to manufacture our own products, but now most of our products are OEM, and we've closed the factory in Malaysia. And we do retail laundry products. We have 60 brick and mortar locations, and these include self-owned boutiques and departmental stores, and these are like your Parkson and Aeon, Sogo, and Robinsons. And also we took our first step into the online channels in 2013. First with Zalora. Then we progressively stepped into marketplaces and launched our own web store in 2017. And we've also launched into social commerce. And also we've moved regionally or internationally, and in both fields, we've gone with online and offline strategies depending on each region's demands. Okay, so I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen, this is very quick. Sorry, I stole this out of my corporate deck, so it looks a little bit boring. But these are our stores, our frontline stores, all managed by ourselves. And then just some screenshots from our online store. We don't run an app. We have a web store, and it's mobile friendly as well. And actually a very interesting thing about this, which I would not have picked up, was that about 98% of our traffic goes via the mobile store, via the mobile phone as opposed to on the desktop. So as you might know, we do merchandise product. Our product mix includes bras, panties, sleepwear, and accessories. So it's all in that lingerie category. And so what I'm going to launch into is to explain a little bit about what the XIXILI brand is about. And this is really critical because it will lead into what I'm talking about later when we bring on board an online channel to a brick and mortar business. So for the XIXILI brand, we are a homegrown Malaysian label, and the brand itself is all about finding each woman her perfect fit. And so with that, our brand motto is uplifting you always, and our brand promise, and this is really critical when you're talking about bringing in new channels or new outlets, is to ensure that you can maintain that brand promise. And our brand promise to our customers is an intimate experience that enhances your confidence, happiness, and well-being. So through that, we provide to you a wide variety of products that fit you, that are custom, that have a level of comfort, and will kind of make you feel great from within. So I'm not sure I was going to test you guys on this, but now that we are online, it's a bit harder to test. The number of women who actually wear the wrong size bra or do not get fitted, it's about 8%, and this is actually a global statistic. And so this is the key problem, or that XIXILI as a brand, as a business, is trying to fix. And so what we're all about is that perfect fit session, where you go into the store and you have a personalized fitting. And so we do carry that extensive range of products from cups A to I, with underbands from 65 to 100. So when we're talking about a personalized fitting and everything happens in our fitting rooms, in our outlets, how do we then bring this concept and this brand promise to an online store? So this is what we'll be talking about here. So I've done a brief background onto the brand. And so when I'm talking about the shift, why did we move from, or not even move, why do we add an online strategy and bring about a online and offline strategy that complements each other to the brand? We do very well offline, and we continue to do very well offline. In the last few years, we've continued to grow in the offline arena, opening up new boutiques. So it's not that we put a backseat to our offline strategies. We have just brought on board an online strategy, continue to grow our offline strategy, and to bring them together and have them complement each other. So one of the main reasons as to why we did take that shift back in 2013 was where there were a lot of disruptions in the retail landscape. And this is something that we all are going through and living with today. The year 2020, this year, is the year of the most disruptions. We've had our outlets closed. A lot of us have lost a lot of our revenue in the last couple of months with everything closed. And so with all these disruptions, you realize how much more you have to pivot. And so it's these rapid changes in the retail landscape. On top of that, you could definitely see that there were shifts in customer demands. And this is what caused us at XIXILI to move and launch an online channel strategy. Again, as we were doing the pivot, we had to think about how we were going to do it. It would disrupt our internal operations as well. And so what we understood and we mapped out was that, first of all, we had to ensure that we provide that brand experience, that similar brand experience, and to ensure our customers can still find that perfect fit when they buy, whether online or offline. So launching an e-commerce store is not as cheap or as simple as often is made out to be. This I would admit to, and we launched our own online stores. We kicked off the project in 2016 and launched in 2017. There is an amount of CapEx that would have to go in. There will be shifts in human resources within your company where you will have changes in how your warehouse does things, or your marketing team will do things. And you'll have to likely look towards how you're going to engage and provide for customer service when we launch an online store. And so what we decided at XIXILI is to really take it in baby steps. We broke it down and we didn't try to launch everything at once. Up until today, from 2017 to today, this 3 years on, we are still taking those baby steps, and we still have many more enhancements in line, and they haven't all been launched at once yet. So once we came about and started building a foundation to our online store, we then began to realign the experience. Now, when I talk about realigning experience, and I mean realigning experience for your internal staff, your team, and for your customer. So I'm not sure how many of you out there run an e-commerce channel only or run both, and in e-commerce and offline strategy. There are many parts of the stages of the sales funnel that differ from each other, and this will affect your internal staff and the external customer. So that's how as we put things together, we lead towards an omni-channel strategy. Okay. So this is quite a heavy slide, and we're talking about the sales funnel here. So what I'm doing is if I'm using XIXILI as a case study for you guys, and I'm not saying this is the right way, but this is how we did it. And over the last 3 years, since 2013 actually, and then 2017 launching our own online store, and we looked at the sales funnel. And as you remember, I was saying how it's very important for us to mimic the experience and to bring that brand promise from our offline store to our online store, so that our customers get that exact same feel and a similar customer journey. So if I talk about mimicking experience, we broke it down stage by stage. And on the left, you see the offline store channels, the step-by-step for the offline store, and then on the right, you see our online store. And you see the sales funnel as we go down, where we go through an awareness, interest, desire, action, retention. And in fact, after the retention, it should go back up towards awareness as you launch new products or new channels to your brand. So if we're looking at the first line, we're looking at marketing, communications, engagement, and education. Now this happens on both, for both channels, but the communication tools that you might use for each channel, whether it's online or offline, might differ. And this happened mostly back in 2013 when we started. Back then, a lot of marketing money was still spent in print ads. And so you, sorry guys. So you've noticed that over the years, a lot of digital spend, a lot of media spend has moved towards digital spend. And this is where we found to converge. With an offline store, you also then choose your shopping mall or your neighborhood location, and then have a storefront and a beautiful big entrance to provide exposure for all the traffic that walks by. When it comes to the online store, you are completely saturated, guys. Whether you're in the marketplace or if you are hosting your own online store, you will have to run digital campaigns. And this is where a lot of money will go in, or to manage traffic or to bring traffic to your store. So this can be done through your Facebook or social, Instagram ads, your Google ads, including GDN, and also building the foundation of your own web store to ensure that your SEO and SEM tools are all in place. Then if we go into the next step, so if you were offline customer, you'd walk into the store and you would see the shop, the interior of the shop, and all the merchandise displayed. With an online store, things get a little bit more saturated as well, and we have to identify the user interface and the user experience. And this really has to be quite frictionless to engage your customer, especially today, where customers are much more well-versed when it comes to the online interface, and they know what they're doing, and they have many more demands than they would have maybe 10 years ago. And then at the next level, when we are looking at how to drive interest, with the offline store, we actually have a frontline team and someone to educate you and go through, and you can actually touch the products. So when it comes to the online store, you see the picture of the product, but you aren't able to actually touch it. And then when we talk about fitting and finding you the right size, this is the most critical stage for XIXILI. This is where we had to sit down and think about, well, how do we then mimic that experience from our offline store to our online store? And from there, we decided to launch a size chart. We decided to launch a live chat and a stronger customer service channel so that a customer can speak to a representative, whether it's live or through a bot, to identify your perfect size. Because you can't then step into a fitting room. And the online store for us, what we did was we looked at launching a 3D avatar and a try in store feature, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slide because I give a little more details there. And then again, this comes back down to the sales funnel. When it comes down to sales funnel, how do you close the sale? Whether it's through a promotion or incentives and rewards, many different brands will have different strategies for this, and you would identify that for your own brand. And then when you close a sales transaction, between an online store and offline store, it's very different. After you close a transaction in your boutique, you collect the money and the customer takes the product and walks out. The amount of aftercare service is much more minimal. Whereas with the online store, you're actually only halfway. You still have to fulfill, and you have to pack and ship out the products and ensure that the products are shipped out correctly. And you also have your logistics carrier with your 3PL, whether it's Post Laju or Ninja Bag, to handle after that. So there's a lot more room for error with the online store after the sales transaction happens. And then it goes into marketing and communication, where you have a retention program or after sales and post-purchase reviews. And this happens on both for the online and offline, and with the tools and communication tools or platforms that you might use might differ very slightly, but it could also be similar platforms that you use. So if we're talking about the sales funnel and mimicking experience, if I zoom right into one aspect of how we try to mimic the experience from an offline to an online store, we're looking at outfitting. So on the left, in the picture on the left here, you see our sales girl, our front line, fitting our customer and finding you the right size before you go into the fitting room. In the online store, we don't have that opportunity so much. And so this comes where product education, product detail is a lot more important. Coming from a traditional offline store, this was where we had the most trouble. We didn't have, you know, product descriptions for every single one of our products, and we have over 500 SKUs. And so that was, when we first did the shift, it was a real sit down and to write up all these product descriptions and to formulate them into a manner that a customer can read. So this, well, on top of writing product descriptions to all our images, we had to launch a size chart. We launched a 3D avatar, which you see at the bottom here, where you can put in your own sizes and model a product onto the avatar. And then we also launched a try and store. Try and store is where you'll be able to go onto online store and browse and choose what you'd like, and then it will be prepared for you in one of our boutiques. And when you enter our boutique, you can immediately head into the fitting room and try on the products. So strategies such as try and store has allowed us to then update and align our offline strategies with our boutiques to complement our online store. With a try and store where you can do a lot, a customer can start browsing in the online store, we were able to then shrink the size of our outlets, and this would reduce also our rental in our outlets, and also to hold less inventory at our outlets. So once you've worked towards mimicking the offline and online channels, remember I was talking about taking baby steps. So once we've worked towards that, we now work at converging the channels. When you talk about converging the channels, you want to talk about using your human resources, your team in your HQ, to be able to work and to churn campaigns out for both the online and offline at the same time. Now that's for your internal audience, which is your team and your staff. But what happens for a customer? A customer also demands to have a single experience, an efficient experience, whether it's through a multi-channel strategy. And so this is kind of where XIXILI has headed after a few years, and we're working towards converging the channels to become more efficient and cost-effective as well. So we're looking now at what we've managed to do. And in this slide, what I'm showing you is what we've managed to do and the stages we've taken in. So what we brought in and we've aligned, taken it step by step and said, which part should we align first? And so we've managed to align definitely the campaigns. So when it comes to brand awareness campaigns, those can easily be done to launch an online and offline store. And it also goes to say our promotions are now linked, are in sync with each other, whether it's online and offline. So again, with the storefront, we still have slightly different spaces, but we have also looked towards moving our merchandise mix and merchandise display to represent each other. So how it's cataloged in our online store, we've tried to mimic that same experience when you walk into our offline store. This goes down as we enter all the way down. You see the try and store and moving towards a seamless exchange policy. If you purchase online, you can exchange offline and vice versa. Aligning promotion mechanics and bringing together the incentives and reward schemes. So if you notice, a lot of brands might launch and you'll be able to earn points online or earn points offline, but not be able to sync it. These take all these items that we are trying to convert will also depend on what technology is available. As you all know, in the last few years, technology has changed significantly, and each step that we're trying to converge here might not be able to converge today, but as technology does launch, we'll be able to converge it. And this was similar with our 3D avatar, which we managed to bring on board recently, actually. There was no technology for it 5 years ago, and today there is, and we've managed to bring that on board. And so once it comes down the funnel, this is where the biggest key thing is to bring it back into a single database. A lot of customers today are not online only customers or offline only customers. They actually are open and keen to shop both online and offline. So you have to work towards aligning it into a single database and to do your re-engagement and bring customers to wherever it might be more convenient, or if there's a certain flash sale that they might be missing out on, if it's running online, then you want to keep your offline customers aware of that. And so that's where your re-engagement communications come in. So I'm just gonna close up here. To summarize, we're looking at always evolving and adapting. Customer demands are the customers are getting more demanding. Each of us ourselves are all customers, and we know how much more demanding we're getting. There's also a lot of new technologies launching and a lot of new platforms. So marketplaces came in about 5 years ago, and that was a platform you could launch with. Subsequently, you still have your brand promise. Identify your brand promise. Ensure that you bring that same brand promise from your offline store to your online store. Or if you are moving from an online, and there are businesses that are doing this today, moving from an online store to offline store, make sure you maintain that brand promise and that customer journey. Again, baby steps, and that there will be continued enhancements. And there'll always be new conveniences and new experiences. New conveniences in different ways in which you can always optimize efficiency and efficiency levels internally within your own staff, in your own team, and how things are done, and to ensure that there is a seamless multi-channel customer journey at the end of the day. So this comes down to how you manage your stocks, how quick your stocks can get to the customer, whether it's through your online store or through your offline store. Okay, so I'm just going to close up here because I think questions will be more appropriate, and that you guys will hear what you want to hear rather than hearing what I'm going on about. I've left my email down there at the bottom if you do want to reach out to me, and a nice photo to close.
All right, super. Thanks, Sarah. We do have a couple of questions here for you. All right, let me see. This one is from Helen. Okay, so the question is, how does offline and online complement each other, as online is more dynamic as compared to the physical store? And how do you manage to take care of the offline customer?
Right, it is. With your online store, it is far more dynamic. And the number of campaigns you have to launch online versus your offline, there's a big difference. On top of that, with your online store, you'll see the volatility in your sales. Tomorrow you could have an uplift of 400 times your sales from yesterday. And this causes a volatility within your internal teams and your external teams. So how you manage this is actually to kind of share resources, and we try to maintain the promotions whether it's online or offline. And so what we do with our online stores, we actually add additional content around it. So we don't change the promotions. If you go onto our online store, you'll see that we do merchandise items that are aligned towards sexual wellness. And so we've added new items, new merchandise that's not carried offline in our online store. And so it allows us to create content to keep that dynamic content going. It is very true. Your online customer has the attention span of maybe 30 minutes to an hour. And you see this because on Lazada and Shopee, you see, the flash sales going on for an hour and people coming in and they're doing this. And then they have the gamification where the games are like 10-second long games, and customers online do have that level of demand. But to maintain your offline customer happy, you'll always notice when a customer comes, and this has moved a little bit further away. Back in maybe about 3 years ago, I would say, your online customer was a customer who only is seeking for deals. And this is especially true in Malaysia. Meanwhile, as we did that, we were worried that it would affect our offline sales. So we actually divided our merchandise mix. But what we did see when we launched our online channel was that the sales in the offline did not come down. So maintaining that offline customer, giving them that level of happiness. An offline customer at that point, when an online customer is looking for deals, was going into your store for that level of service. That your frontline team is there for that fitting room experience. And you also back in about 5 years ago, we would edge them along by merchandising less products online than we did offline. Today, we actually have all our products launched online and offline. And so we've managed to groom your customer into understanding what it is they want, because most customers will still shop online and offline. I hope that answered it.
I am certain it does. Okay, so thank you. Our next one is from Adha Izhan, and this question is, for the online channel, how was your experience doing the live chat, and how many people should handle that channel? Is it worth it in increasing sales?
Right, so with a live chat, so our live chat, we've actually been able to also integrate in a bot, like a robot bot, right? And I know, because we are all customers here, how much we hate speaking to bots. But does come down to the fact that we do have to streamline. And actually with a live chat for our product, because we talk a lot about sizing, we felt it was very important to uplift sales. But what we find out in the end of the day, again, when I talk about an online customer having a very short attention span, and an online customer likes everything on hand. If they speak to the live chat, they're not even keen to wait a minute. A minute is too long for them. So you'll notice that what we notice with our live chat is a lot of people would be using it to check on their orders. Rather than to uplift sales, it was more to provide that aftercare customer sales service. And when it comes to how they want to find out more information about the products or finding the fit, we noticed our customers were moving more towards user-generated forums or content to get that level of feedback. Because when you speak in a forum, people give you more feedback, and you don't seem to think it's so biased. And so that's one of the trends that we noticed, and we actually launched our live chat thinking that it would enhance the customer service at the sales level. It turns out it was at the after sales level. How many people we actually need to manage? It's a tough one, that one. You definitely need somebody logged on at all times. And so what we do is we actually run it on operating hours. So we're not incredibly high volume that we need to have it going 24 hours. But you have to ensure that your customer is well informed that on what time you close, when you are closed, and if your live chat is closed at that moment and there's no one replying to it, it leads somewhere else, and you can then reach back out to them, whether it's via email or via a phone call after.
Okay, thank you. This next one is from Colson. Now Colson is wondering, can you share your way of collecting feedback from customers? As some customers don't really leave feedback on the feedback site after purchasing products from us, how do we ensure that 99% of the feedback is being collected?
99% is very, very high. So it is, again, this really comes down to customer's attention span. What we notice that most people do is they actually incentivize the customer to provide feedback. And your feedback section has to be very simple. Customers are okay if you have predestined answers. But at XIXILI, we actually don't do that. But it's something we do understand, that if you give them set answers, template answers, they're more likely to click in. Or if you give them a star rating, they're more likely to give you a rating at that point. The reason that at XIXILI we do not do that and give template answers is because our products, when we want a customer to give feedback, we would like the customer to give feedback on the fit. And this varies significantly between each customer. So when our team sat down to discuss this, our reasoning was that it's more important for us to collect quality feedback as opposed to just getting feedback for the sake of feedback's sake, for review's sake, and we didn't want our reviews to be based only on how fast we deliver or how well the packaging was. We wanted it based on our products. So we are still working towards that. One way is to reward your customer with a voucher, and that's not something that most brands want to do. Also, I think what we always forget is how effective it is when you do an email back to the customer. So cart abandonment emails are very, very effective, and so are review emails. So post-purchase review emails sent to the customer, and if they can fill it in from within the platform of their email, within their email message, I'm sure you you'll see an uplift in the number of reviews you collect.
And I think just to add on to what you said, I think that there's a lot of truth in what you said, because every single person, especially for XIXILI, anyone that comes in is different. We have different body sizes, and it's just a different variety for every customer. So I think that, Colson, perhaps it's important to remember that quality does transcend quantity in a certain way, because if you can cater to the customer specifically and you can show that level of appreciation naturally, I think if you can do that with every single customer, the feedback will be there, and it will be one with quality instead of quantity. And I think that it's more important for a brand like XIXILI. Okay, so our next question is, it's quite funny. Is your online store cannibalizing your offline sales, or are you reaching new clients with online?
So actually, this was one of our, you must be an offline traditional brick and mortar audience member. It was one of our biggest peers, to be honest. And so what we did at first was we kind of aligned some of our merchandise, especially when we launched into marketplaces where customers were demanding deals. We would only put a certain amount of merchandise in marketplaces. But when we launched our own online store, we saw the quality of the customer. They're not just seeking for online deals at this point. And so we did not actually see that cannibalization happening, which is surprising. What we were actually able to do with our online store is to grow our market share significantly. Now, with our boutiques, now we are not like a 7-Eleven where we have outlets everywhere. There were some states where we only have 1 or 2 outlets. We saw significant uplifts. So remember, your online store allows for that, for you to hit states where you might not have a huge presence. And we saw significant uplifts in that. We see a lot of secondary states who are our 2nd and 3rd tier cities who have increasing sales, and their sales growth was stronger than the rate of the growth of actually opening new boutiques in that state. So we also use it as identifier as to why we need to open a new boutique in that state. The other thing that we did notice when it came to online and offline was that it wasn't so much a cannibalizing of sales. We were actually able to increase customer purchasing frequency. For a lingerie store, a customer might purchase from us once or twice a year, usually before Chinese New Year, before Raya, and then maybe another extra time. But with the online store, it was much more convenient. It was on their fingertips. And so we were able to increase a lot of customers up to a 4 times purchase frequency, which is actually uplifting your sales.
Okay, I think we have time to squeeze in one more question. Let's do this one. This one comes from Dan. Now, Dan would like to know, how do you test and improve your UX on your website? As customers don't feedback and comment on your website, how do you know where are the areas to improve, and how did you do it? Right,
so customers did give us a lot of feedback. We have run surveys a few times, and so they'll email us or they'll send us back the survey. We also do get a lot of customers. You'll be surprised how engaged customers are. And I think all customers are very well aware that, the retail landscape has been shifted drastically, and they all do want to play a role. So we do actually get a lot of emails from customers going, you should change this, or you should add this ad hoc. But another key way that we do it is, for those of you in traditional brick and mortar companies, you will have staff in your team who are not computer savvy. And this includes whether it's your frontline staff or your corporate staff. We actually take one of our e-commerce team, once we are ready to launch a new product, we then take that platform and we give it to another staff member and ask them to do it. And usually we target the ones who are the least tech savvy and ask them to try and close a sale. So if they can do it, it's basically coming back to having a focus group. And your focus group can be from within, or alternatively, you can reach out always to your customers. And I think a lot of customers do enjoy this. They do want to be engaged in that sense. And we see it all the time, actually.
All right. Well, Tara, that's all the time we have for, unfortunately, for today. You still have quite a number of questions that are unanswered. So if you could answer that once your session finishes, that would be great. But I just wanted to thank you so much on your presentation. And I think like what XIXILI does for women out there is that you instill a lot of confidence and you make us feel comfortable about our bodies. And I think that is just simply astounding and amazing. So thank you so much for your input today. And thank you for being a part of E-Commerce Fest 2020.
Pleasure.
All right, so for everyone who's watching, let's give her a virtual round of applause. Thank you so much, Tara. Feel free to stay on for the rest of the sessions today. Thank you so much once again.
Exabytes. Grow your business online.